Hello, it's Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts with another Valentine's card. If I say another, I should have posted a card before. If not, apologies for that. That will be due to me still waiting for a stamp to finish that card. So this might actually be the first one I'm posting, but it'll be the second one I'm making. As I have mentioned in the first video, if it has already appeared, this will be a card from my husband from our cat. Our cat likes to give my husband cards, so obviously he'll get one for Valentine's as well. I will be using Lavinia stamps and stencils again, but I will do something different today. I usually have sort of two types of cards. I have my mechanisms and folds, and then I do Lavinia. I hardly ever combine the two, so for this card today I decided to do a Z fold because I think this will add a nice feature to the card and it's a bit different from the ones I usually do. I have got a few supplies ready here. I will be using two stencils for the background. That I think is just called a brick stencil, and this one I think is the pebble. Whatever it is, I'm going to link to both below. And I have got my mooch stamp here, the little cat, which I will stamp in black. I have got my ink blending brushes ready here for the, that's a Lavinia Elements Paprika, which I will use for the brick, and for the pebble I will use the Lost Shadow. I just want a bit of texture in the background. You could do some ink blending, but I find for a mail card that is actually quite nice. So I will start with the outside. I've got a bit of scrap paper here that I will just, oh, by the way, this is a, well, it's advertised as a 6x6 card, but it's actually 5 7/8 square. It doesn't matter what size you use. You could use a rectangular one rather than a square one. It doesn't really matter. You can cut it yourself, but I just use this ready-made one, which I get from the works. So I'm just popping this scrap paper in beneath because I don't want the inking from the front to go onto the back. And I'm just using this stencil. I just realised I need another little bit of scrap paper on the side here, so I don't end up with any ink on my desk. And I'm just stenciling on this side of the card, which is quite convenient because this one is a bit short, so it would not cover this and I would have to move it over. But because we're creating a Z fold, this panel won't be seen anyway, so that's fine by me. I'm just sticking this down just a little bit. I can actually stick it down on the cardstock here, because as I said, we won't be inking that up. And I'm going in with my Lost Shadow, and this is really basic stenciling, so I'm just, oh, don't you do that. If you're not sure, you can always tape it down on that side as well, but I will actually hold it down now and go in, and I want to fade out the ink towards the middle. I don't want it to be too solid. You could use a stencil brush if you wanted to. You can see I'm not doing a very good job there, holding it down. Hope I haven't ruined it yet. No, it's still fine. So, hold it down where you apply it. Yeah, I'm just realising it's not a job to be rushed. So I'm not inking it up anymore. I'm just going over these areas now, and sometimes you think you don't have a lot of ink down, especially with a Lost Shadow, which is a very pale colour, but you will find that when you take the stencil off, it does actually make a difference. And if you're not sure, just keep your finger on it and then you can lift it up and then you can actually see this. So I'm happy with that. So I'm now taking this off. Make sure I don't put my fingers on this side. And now I'm doing the same on this panel here. Let me just move this over. So I want to ink up this side of the panel, the left hand side. I'm moving this over actually quite a bit because I don't want the edge of that stencil to show. Oop, nearly picked up the wrong brush there. So that's all I really need for this panel. And now for this panel here, so I've got something stuck here. Oh, that's annoying. Don't know whether it was some residue from a brush or so. Definitely got an ink splotch on here now, so I hope that will disappear with the ink blending over that. So I have cut myself a little heart from cardstock because I want to use it as a topper, but I want to ink blend this with the back panel. So I'm just using this removable adhesive. You could use a roller, but I just fold this up a little bit just to keep it in place. Ideally I don't want it to be too thick, so I'm pressing it down a little bit because I don't want that to make this wobbly, and then you've got not a very good impression of the stencil. So I'm placing this in the middle. I hope this is in the middle. You could measure it if you wanted to. I might quickly do that because I want this in the middle of the card. This has to do with the folding afterwards, so which is a bit tricky. I'll tell you how I can do this now. I will actually fold this card already in the middle, and then it's easy for me to align this. So I'm quickly putting this in my scoreboard, and I'm going to score it in the middle, which is a little bit tricky because of the size. If you have got a 6x6, it's so much easier. So I will have to play around a little bit and then I come back. So this was actually a bit tricky. So what I've done is actually I have cut down the size to 5 3/4, and then the half is at 2 7/8. So the important thing is that when you fold it in the middle and cut it, fold it over, is that it doesn't overlap here. I have not cut down the height of the card, so it's not quite square yet, but it doesn't make a difference really. The only important thing is that this score line is in the middle. And now it's easy for me, once I've folded this over, to align this in the middle, because I want the middle of the heart to sit in the middle here. And I want approximately the same height here than I was at the top, want it at the top, but it doesn't have to be. That's really up to you. Just making sure the heart sits straight as well. So I'm pressing it down on the adhesive and I'm just checking it again, and that looks fine for me. So now I'm going to use the brick stencil, and as before I'm just going to tape that down again. I'm not taping it onto the extra card because I want to fill the full panel, so I'm taping it down on the left hand side here and on my scrap paper underneath. That will sort of keep it in place. I'm making sure it's straight as well because it is a straight pattern. Don't want it to look wonky. So as I said, I'm using my paprika. I'm making sure, I actually need to cover that, I'm just realizing that. I need to make sure I don't get onto the back panel here. So I will actually put some scrap paper over the top here. And I'm going to tape that in place. You can put some washi tape or low adhesive on the back here, but I think I just do it like this, and I will keep this down with my finger so that I will probably be have a heavier application in the middle and fade it out towards the edge anyway. but I definitely don't want anything on that side. So I'm testing my ink a little bit here. I've had this for quite a few years, so it's not too strong, but definitely, as I say, I want a heavy application here. And because I'm using the solid stamp on the heart afterwards, that's fine. It's a bit blotchy there. Should have come in from the edge rather than going straight onto the heart. And because it's got so many openings, the stencil isn't very rigid, so make sure that when you go on the edges now, just dabbing a little bit of the ink off here, that you actually hold it down firmly right next to where you're using your brush. So I'm speeding this up now for the video. So I'm just lifting this up on here, keeping my finger down as a hinge, so just have a look if I'm happy with it, and I am. So I can put this away now. I'm going to wash my fingers because otherwise this ink ends up on the card where I don't want it, and then I'll come back and show you how we continue. So I have washed my stencils, washed my hands, and I just managed to get a water splat on here. I don't know, it must have been left on my hands. Never mind. If you ever have that, you could put a little embellishment there. I might do that, put a little stamp there, but I'll decide on that later. It will be, obviously, when the card is closed, it will be hidden anyway. So now we can peel this heart off. So, and this will give us some space to put a private sentiment there. And then this one will afterwards be stuck down here and will open like this, so we'll cover the sentiment. And the reason why I stenciled it in one go is that this will very neatly fit on here. So, but first of all we need to stamp that, so don't glue it just on just yet. So as I said, I will put Mooch on here, and I will, I think, put something here to give him a focus, probably the little Flutterby, which I have somewhere on my desk. I'll find him. Oh, here it is. So this is available as a pound stamp, the mini stamp, I think, but it's also available in the Fairy Bugs set. So I think I've got two of them. I think they're identical. So, and I find this is nice for Mooch to look at something, so I will definitely use that one. So I'm going to be brave. I'm not using my stamping platform, so I think this should be okay. The important thing is that because it's a silhouette, that you put enough ink on the stamp. Mine's always a bit floofy, as in I've always got some residue there, but it doesn't matter because Mooch is floofy and so is our cat. So I'm just making sure he's sitting straight. I will, just thinking whether I want to cut him off a bit. No, I've got the space, so I think I will actually put him right there. So, and I'll give the ink some time to seep into the cardstock. Don't want to rush this. You don't want to wobble the ink block either, although these stamps are really, really good. I sometimes see crafters on YouTube and they've got very big acrylic blocks. I find that difficult. I try to pick an acrylic block that is close to the size of my stamp so I don't wobble. But whatever you're comfortable with. There we go. As you can see, it's got a bit of a few specks there. I might even have damaged my stamp, I don't know. So I've shown this before. What I do in that case is I've just got a brush. Mine's already been used for that purpose, so I'm just going onto my ink pad, just picking up a little bit of ink, and then I'm going onto the areas here, and I just fill this in a little bit. So, oh, I think he's so lovely. Look at him, he looks just like our cat. So, and then I'm just going in with a little flutterby. I think that's what it's called, flutterby, that's why I use that word. He's obviously butterfly. He's, by the way, he's a he. If you find me using these words. Sometimes it comes from my German, because in German der Schmetterling is male. But that's why I sometimes call things he or she. Yeah, lovely. I love him. It's very detailed. It's got very crisp lines. It's just very cute. So if you wanted to, you could fill him in. I think I might actually do that because you can see the bricks through there. So I think I'll just get my little stencil brush out. I don't really want to put too much detail in, but I think I just fill him in with a colour that matches the or goes with the red a little bit, because obviously that will melt in. I'll have a little think and have a quick look in my stash. So I decided to go with the orange. I've got the carved pumpkin. I have just today ordered the russet orange from Lavinia Elements, because I find over the time, although I love the Lost Shadow and the Black Soot, I prefer to work with the elements, and this one's always been very juicy, and I sometimes find it just a bit too much. So I've also changed my stencil brush, or my brush. I'm going on the Lavinia Stamps number 3 brush. See how juicy it is. So I really just want a hint of colour, and just going in just to fill this in and take away from the white lines. And this goes very nicely with the red. I might need a slightly smaller brush for that edge there. So I'm just using this one just on the edge. Again, dabbing it off. Yeah, that's better. You could use your Kuretake pens, alcohol markers, anything is fine. But I've just really wanted just a hint of colour there. And because it's a mail card, I won't use any shimmer pens. I'm not sure if my husband would appreciate that. I don't know. So, but yeah, I think this is all I need for this card. Let me pop this out of the way so it doesn't stain the back of the card. So what I need to do now is put glue on this half here. I'm just using my magic glue. So I just have to remind myself again. So you can mark it with a pencil if you wanted to, but I'm just going in like this. You could use your acrylic glue if you want a bit of wiggle space, and I'm just basically placing it down here, making sure it covers the white area and the middle line of the heart is on the fold. Then I can press it down and I can turn it over, making sure no glue seeps out there. Press it down, and then that's all there is to it. I won't add a sentiment on this one here. Maybe again once my Lavinia stamps that I've just ordered have arrived, I might just add one. I've also ordered some sentiment stickers this time, But otherwise, I think this is nice enough and says enough for Valentine's Day. And as I said, I'm going to put the greeting from our cat in here. And yeah, maybe a little heart down there. If you've got a heart stamp, that would be nice. But you don't really need much more on this card. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this. And I like how quick this card is, but how effective. And obviously you can use it for lots of other occasions. You can change the designs on this, use different stencils, as I said, use ink blending in the background, do some extra stamping. All this is possible. If you like this card, you might want to give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that, and I'll see you soon with another video.